All right, everybody. Good late afternoon or early evening. We're going to take a short detour from the Seattle Seahawks to talk about another topic that I frequently discuss on this channel, the Washington Huskies and the college football world that surrounds the Washington Huskies. And I've intentionally stayed away from this storyline for the last several months. Of course, I knew it was happening, but I didn't have a lot to say about it. I just kind of wanted it to be over. I very quickly kind of got sick of this story and just wanted it to be done. And I just wanted to watch football games this fall and winter. So it's over now. So it would seem. We have resolution. We know what's going to happen here. So let's go ahead and talk about it. And I'll talk about how I feel about it. And then we're back to waiting for the season mode, and it's not too far away. So pretty soon here, we're going to be able to change gears to the stuff that I actually want to get into. The Washington Huskies are moving from the Pac-12. It is now official. Just like, I don't know, half an hour ago or so, the Big Ten voted to confirm both Oregon and Washington to join their conference. It was the final thing that needed to happen. It was expected all day that, of course, they would vote for Oregon and Washington to join. They would be totally cool with that. But that was the last thing that needed to be cleared, and it is now cleared. So the Oregon Ducks and Washington Huskies are joining the Big Ten. They are going to be joining the Big Ten next year. So 2024 football season, we are in the Big Ten. So we are still in the Pac-12 for one more season, I guess, which is going to be kind of awkward given the fact that everybody knows we're about to leave. And I know that there are some other teams in the Pac-12 that are unhappy about the fact that we're doing this. Like Washington State already released a statement about how they're disappointed. I don't know if that means they go into that game with a little extra fire when we play them in the Apple Cup. I don't know exactly how that's going to work out, but regardless, all signs pointed towards this needing to happen. So the Big Ten now has 18 teams because on top of the 14 teams they already had, and these two new teams, they also have USC and UCLA, who announced that they were going to be joining the Big Ten last year. So all four of us are going to jump on over to the Big Ten next season, and everything will change. And I'm not going to act like I'm devastated over this, because I'm not, but it is going to definitely feel just a little bit weird. This was definitely something that I just wanted to get over with throughout this entire offseason. I got really sick of people talking about it non-stop. I'm not thrilled about the direction that college football is taking, but honestly, I don't get into college football the same way that a lot of people do. I like it, I enjoy it, I appreciate it, I watch a lot of games, but I don't have this burning passion for it the way that some people do, to the point where I'm devastated that some of these rivalries are getting upended. I'm not sitting here devastated that, oh, we our rivalry with a team like Wazoo isn't going to be what it used to be. Our rivalry, excuse me, rivalry with a team like Cal is not going to be the same, or Colorado, if you can even call those real rivalries, because you know those teams are typically not elite programs. But obviously there is some degree of rivalry with any team in the Pac-12 versus any other team in the Pac-12, and you are upending that a little bit by pumping all these teams into the Big Ten. There are now 18 schools over there, and we all know that before long, the way things are trending is you're going to have half the teams in the Big Ten, and then half the teams in I think it's the SEC. But the point is, it's going to be two massive conferences, and that's basically what it's going to come down to. And you're seeing a lot of these smaller conferences, like the Pac-12 had become, get decimated. And there's been a lot of mismanagement of the Pac-12 lately, to where they deserve this. Like, this is not something that's horrifically unfair. This is not something that is done for no reason. We didn't stab them in the back. The Pac-12 has been managed poorly lately. It's a conference that many years people do not take seriously. Like going undefeated in the Pac-12 doesn't carry the same energy as going undefeated in the SEC or the SEC or the Big 12 or those conferences. The Pac-12 often, not always, but recently I think you could say quite often, more often than not, it's looked at as being kind of a weaker conference where the defenses just aren't as good. And because of that, it's a little harder to get ahead when you're in those conferences. You can have the same record as another team. You can even be a one-loss team that is looked at as being worse than a two-loss team from another conference. So I guess it had to happen. I'm not thrilled about it. I'm not thrilled about joining a massive conference, which is where this is headed over the next several years, I think. The Big Ten is probably going to add maybe, I don't know, dozens more schools, and we'll eventually have that two conference system in all likelihood. And I understand that some people hate it, but I'm whatever. I just want to watch football games, guys. I just want to watch football games. My understanding is that we are getting a share of the Big Ten money. I believe it's $30 million a year, going up by $1 million a year for the next 8 years. And then when the TV deal gets renegotiated in 8 years or so, we can renegotiate an actual percentage of whatever this pie is. So that's pretty fair. Seems pretty reasonable to me. It's better than what we would have gotten here, which is one of the big reasons why we're doing this. You take a look at the Big Ten real quick. So if you go over to the Big Ten Conference, the teams in the conference are the Illinois Fighting Illini, Indiana Hoosiers, Iowa Hawkeyes, Maryland Terrapins, Michigan State Spartans, Michigan Wolverines, Minnesota Golden Gophers, Nebraska Cornhuskers, Northwestern Wildcats, Ohio State Buckeyes, Penn State Nittany Lions, Purdue Boilermakers, Rutgers Scarlet Knights, and Wisconsin Badgers. There are some teams that are typically not particularly stellar in this bunch for sure. It's probably not as tough as the other conference is likely to be when they put that together, because that's going to have a lot of the SEC teams, the Alabamas of the world, I guess you can't even really say Florida anymore, the LSUs of the world, the Clemsons of the world, the Georgias. Obviously, you look at this list and the teams that stand out would be Michigan, Ohio State, maybe Wisconsin, maybe Michigan State, depends on the year. Iowa is frequently really good, but a lot of these teams are just kind of like, eh. So it's not the worst thing in the world to jump over to this conference. It's still probably going to be a tougher nut to crack than the Pac-12 was. The Pac-12 did have good teams like USC, like Oregon, but those teams are coming over too. We still got to deal with them. Remember, USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington are joining, so we got to deal with those teams on top of the really good teams in this conference. And teams like Michigan and Ohio State are almost always going to be good. It's really hard for those teams to actually have a bad season. So it's probably gotten a little bit harder for this team to crack the top. Well, pretty soon it's going to be the top 8, because they're going to have a 8-team playoff soon. Or they might even expand to 16. I can't even remember what they landed on there, which shows how much I follow stuff like that. I just kind of want to be told when it's actually going to happen. But yeah. So it's over, and Washington is leaving the Pac-12. Now, presumably, if we wanted to, we could still play a team like Washington State every year for the Apple Cup. We could still do that. So it's not like that rivalry is dead, but it just feels a little bit different from here on out, doesn't it? I mean, it just kind of has to. See you guys later. Bow down to Washington. Go Huskies. And yeah, Pac-12 is pretty much dead. Hello, Big Ten.